Christian Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents If My Husband Would Change, I'd Be Happy, and Other Myths Wives Believe by Rhonda Stoppe, narrated by Rhonda Stoppe. To my husband, Steve Stoppe, the love of my life for more than 30 years, by your example, you've taught me how to love selflessly and fervently. You are my Stoppe ever after. I pray God gives us many more years to serve him together in this mission, to know Christ and make him known. And I cannot wait to one day stand before Christ's throne with you to celebrate with all those who have come to salvation through our ministry together. To my children and their spouses, Tony and Kylene, Jake and Meredith, Brandon and Jesse, Esteban and Kayla, I am in awe of how your marriages reflect the love of Christ to a world in desperate need of a Savior. Soli Deo Gloria. Acknowledgements. Thank you, Gail, Molly, Joan, Elaine, Pam, Penny, and Marge for becoming the tightest two women in my life when I was a young bride. The way you love your husbands drew me to you, and the way you love Christ caused me to want to love him as well. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you. Philippians 1:3. Special thanks to my husband, Steve Stoppe, for agreeing to write from a husband's perspective in this book. As a pastor, counselor, and husband, your words are insightful and inspiring to me and any woman who takes them to heart. My editor, Steve Miller, whose insights and wise counsel have helped Steve and me author this marriage resource for a generation who is desperate to believe a happy marriage can last for a lifetime. 1. If he would change, I'd be happy. He was never meant to be your happily ever after. I love being in love, don't you? From the depths of my soul, I have had an adoration for my husband that has only grown deeper over the past 30-plus years that we have been married. Is this adoration a result of being married to a perfect man? Of course not. Even though, as a young bride, I was convinced all of my happiness would be realized on the day I said, I do, because my husband had promised to be my happily ever after. On the day of our wedding, I walked down the aisle clutching my father's arm because I was trembling. I could hardly believe the day that I had dreamt of was finally upon us. I had spent 6 months planning our wedding, and by the time we were to say our vows, all I could think of was that I would soon be Mrs. Stephen W. Stoppe. I remember writing my new name over and over again just to establish how I would sign it. Did you do that? I was so nervous as all eyes turned toward me, the bride, who was wearing the biggest hat veil thing anyone had ever seen. And then, when my eyes met Steve's, nothing else mattered. It took my breath away to see him looking so incredibly handsome in his white tuxedo. Big hats for veils and white long-tailed tuxedos were in fashion in the 1980s, so don't judge me. As our eyes met, I remember thinking, I cannot believe I am actually marrying this amazing man. I am going to be the best wife he could ever ask for. Did you feel that way when you got married? Steve and I wrote our own wedding vows, a real challenge for my not-so-romantically inclined guy. But he was a good sport, and he wrote wonderful words promising to love me as long as God shall give me life, as Steve so sweetly whispered it into my ears that day. As a reminder of our promise to one another, the vows we wrote have hung on our wall of our home ever since that day. To my delight, for our honeymoon, Steve planned a month-long trip that included driving to see a number of national parks across the United States. What a thrill it was to have an entire month to enjoy ourselves as husband and wife. Although I have to admit, the nights that we camped were a bit of a challenge when I learned how important it was to be near a restroom after lovemaking. Can I get a witness? Steve's aha moment. I'm sure that any illusions of grandeur Steve may have had about me when we got married were dashed during the second week of our honeymoon while we were in Yellowstone National Park. After a few weeks of travel and a lot of fast food, I had gotten pretty constipated. I'm just keeping it real as I write this. You can imagine how uncomfortable I was whenever it was time to be romantic. So Steve decided to help out his poor bound-up wife by giving me a couple of laxatives, something that I had never taken before. He assured me if I took the pills before bed.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?